some health-related issues today, and we believe this is a very important one. We've been lucky enough to speak with Dr. McCullough, with the folks from the Wellness Company, from MKUltra, epidemiologist and administrator at the McCullough Foundation, on a number of occasions. And earlier this week, there were reports of documents disclosed from the CIA going back decades, into the 50s, that seemed to indicate troubling plans that the CIA knew about or actually was working, going all the way back to that time frame, maybe before, we don't know. But I wanted to play a couple things for you, because as we go forward, my suspicion is we will learn not only were there, I'll call them nefarious plans against Americans, but in addition, there may be things that we can do even today to mitigate some of the things that we are and have seen. And we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to bring those to you. That, one, the understanding, and two, how to deal with it. So let's hear Nick's comments first.
The CIA declassified documents showing that the CIA, through Project Artichoke, was seeking to alter human behavior, induce depression, lethargy among the population using vaccinations and food. So they literally and covertly doing it. Like, they didn't want people to know that that was happening. And so, you know, it appears this has been planned for a long time, but now we are reaching the culmination point. This
been planned for a long time. Then in a separate report, he talks about the changes to the functioning of our brains and those who took the vaccinations, now that they're able to measure some of these effects. Let's listen to these comments.
We have multiple studies now indicating severe behavioral changes in those who receive mRNA shots. And that's because now a study by Ota and colleagues that found the mRNA, vaccine mRNA, and spike protein was being produced in cerebral arteries of stroke patients. We know the mRNA shots, based on the second largest COVID vaccine safety study ever conducted with 85 million people in it, they found 200% increased risk of stroke after dose 2 of mRNA shots. So we do know it goes to the brain, causes brain damage, neuronal destruction, and that is reflective onto neuropsychiatric conditions. That was found now in a study by Dr. James Thorp and colleagues. They actually identified 86 neuropsychiatric safety signals for these COVID shots, including homicide, homicidal tendencies, psychosis, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, cognitive impairment, violent behavior. All of this stuff was found to be in far exceedance of what was reported with the flu vaccinations. And so this is so concerning, and this also corroborates multiple other studies, one out of Korea that found increased Alzheimer's risks, increased cognitive impairment risks, and also another study, I believe also out of Korea, found massive increased risks of depression, sleep disorders, and anxiety from these injections. And so we clearly now know, based on the peer-reviewed evidence, it damages the brain, causes brain damage, resulting in neuropsychiatric conditions.
Okay.
That's disturbing.
It's hugely disturbing. And then the question that should be in everyone's mind is, well, if this happened to me or people that I care about, what can I do? And we would again refer you back to MKUltra on and the McCullough Foundation on X, and the writings of Dr. McCullough and his colleagues, and folks like the Wellness Company that are separate, yet they are looking at this. And you just got through talking to Dr. Victory on one of your conversations about a week ago about some of the things that they are doing, one, to mitigate the spike protein and its impact, but also to protect against other conditions that seem to be increasing. So while we're not doctors, we're not giving medical advice, but we would recommend that everybody that is concerned about this, and I think everybody should should get to the folks that do know, go to do your research and make choices about what you think you need to do for yourself, for your family, and the people you care about. So with that, back to you, Todd.
All right. So I sat down with Dr. Ben Tapper of the Wellness Company to talk about several things. One of them is Project Artichoke. And so we'll just play this and you can make your own decisions. Here we go. We're honored to have Dr. Ben Tapper from the Wellness Company back with us. Ben, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Thanks. So I saw an article from Children's Health Defense, which we work with pretty closely, on Project Artichoke. And that has fascinated me because of all this history coming out that people really weren't aware of. I read Chaos, which is about the Charles Manson murders and some of the, I guess, connections to MKUltra and all that kind of stuff. But tell me about Project Artichoke and what you know about it.
Yeah, so it's absolutely fascinating because, and really, in my opinion, it's really a crime against humanity for what they were doing and what these revealed. But this document was revealed in the 80s, basically talking about a project that was pushed through the CIA to really alter the mind and what they wanted to test the limits of what they could do with mind control. It was a program that was ran from 1951 to 1956. But they wanted to see if people could even carry out assassinations and what they could do with, controlling the mind. It was a precursor to MKUltra. But, they were they used, truth serums. They used drugs like LSD. They even had, what they could do. They wanted to implement the potential of vaccinations. And that is terrifying. That's should send a center. I was talking in Children's Health Defense that this should send a shiver up everyone's spine, especially in the healthcare, if they can utilize mind control techniques through vaccinations. It's terrifying. But they were even looking at normal day food items like Coca-Cola or just water, so they were utilizing hypnosis as well. But so I'm thankful to be talking about this, but it really goes to show you the real heart behind the government, what they were doing.
Well, I can't prove it and I don't have any evidence directly, but I've always thought that these school shootings were just bizarre and there was something else behind them that we don't really see or understand or get. So I haven't changed that opinion. And I think there's more to come out on all this, and I hope we get more information. But anyway, so what are you working on these days? What's your priority?
Yeah, a lot of my priority right now is still just kind of getting information out to the people, especially like this Project Artichoke, because a lot of the roots of the whole vaccination paradigm runs deep. The lies run deep. We're always uncovering new information that is just like Project Artichoke. All this information that's been out there that people just don't know. So continuing to educate people to bring truth to light here and really just keep moving forward, because I feel like if we stay complacent, I've always said we have a medical dictatorship at our doorstep, and if we stay complacent, we're going to let them in. So continuing to educate, to bring truth to light, that's my main mission.
Well, we have a paper in Connecticut, the Connecticut Sentinel, and they've been all over Tong, the AG, wanting to mandate vaccines essentially, and going after homeschool parents. Like they don't want any way out of the system. They want you all corralled in for mandatory vaccines, and that's just diabolical in my opinion.
100%. And as a dad of a homeschool, I homeschool 5 children, that's near and dear to my heart. And that's one thing I said to a lot of the homeschool families early on in the pandemic. I said, make no mistake, they're going to come after the homeschool families. These vaccine mandates are a slippery slope, because then, they're going to try to use that, leverage and get their foot in the door in the homeschool communities. And this is why we have to constantly be proactive. It's so frustrating. I just want to live my life and just, and homestead and just be left alone. But we are constantly bombarded with draconian legislation to come after our rights and freedoms to do what we want to do.
Yeah. Well, in Connecticut, they're looking at reviewing every parent that homeschools for, possible crimes, I guess. And with the thought of taking your kids away if you homeschool, and they want to review the curriculum, they want mandatory vaccines, and they're changing actually the law during a lawsuit to try to win the lawsuit against religious exemptions in Connecticut. It's fascinating. But let me ask you, this is, New Year's resolutions coming up. People want to lose weight. Tell me about the GLP-1s and what the wellness company is doing in that area, if you could, please.
Yeah, I mean, the GLP-1s have hit the market. They've exploded. Everyone and their brother is going after, weight loss programs out there. So the wellness company is diving into that in a better way. They're looking at a sublingual type of, peptide to help lose weight. And so the tirzepatide is what they're utilizing. And it's sublingual. There are no needles. Every other GLP-1 or, weight loss peptide out there is injectable. And so this is, I don't like needles. And so this is just something that will dissolve under the tongue. It's sublingual. There's no needles. And it's a very, very, of all the weight loss peptides out there, this is one of the safest. It's one of the best out there. So the wellness company has that out there. And so many people are utilizing this. I can't tell you how many patients have done this and they've lost a ton of weight. And, again, it's not the only thing we should do to help lose weight. Obviously, we can't neglect lifestyle. I mean, that's something that's very important. So many people just take a pill and think they're going to be healthy. This is something that's going to definitely help you reach your weight loss goals, but we can't neglect eating well, moving well, thinking well, and part of our healthy lifestyle.
And I was told that the wellness company is recommending some supplements like B12 and B6 in addition to the GLP-1s. Have you been involved in that?
So yeah, the tirzepatide does have the B6 and B12 because when we are on these peptides, they can actually zap energy, and so B12 is really going to combat that. So you can take this peptide without the energy loss. And then the B6 is actually going to help metabolize the amino acids in the peptide. So it's actually, it's a win-win because most of those peptides out there, they don't have the B complex. And so adding that B complex to the weight loss is going to actually speed it up. It's going to be more efficient, more effective without the energy drain.
And, the war is kicking off pretty heavily. The supply chain is obviously going to be interrupted. It already is in oil and other things, but are you concerned about prescription drugs in the U.S.? Have we made any progress in that area, do you think?
I mean, we are already seeing supply chain hiccups right now. I mean, that's, really? And I think most of our medications are formulated, manufactured overseas, which is another concern I have. But you are already seeing, pharmaceuticals that are trying to be imported across the border, getting snagged by customs or just supply chain hiccups. Things are already on back order. You're already seeing that. So that's not going to be, anytime you have war, anything you have disruption, especially in the Middle East, we have a ton of drugs that come from India and China, and, things escalate with China. I just foresee a massive hiccup in supply chain. So I don't think that's going to be a surprise. I don't think anyone should be surprised by that. And that's not just medications, but the thing is that we need to be proactive, when it comes to our health, but be proactive in stockpiling a lot of these things. Have emergency kits set aside. Wellness company has those, and they do a phenomenal job. They're all doctor formulated. They have guidebooks inside of them. They're life-saving medications when needed. And that way you don't have to run to a pharmacy in the case of emergency, but having that peace of mind at home.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success with people ordering those and getting them, protecting their family essentially is what needs to happen. Are you familiar at all with geoengineering? Do you know anything about that? I mean, that's kind of connected to this whole CIA, putting chemicals in our environment.
Right. I mean, we're talking chemtrails, right? Geoengineering, chemtrails, blocking out the sun. Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that. I don't remember, ever growing up these skies that we have today. And you look at, some of these people, I look at you deer in the headlights. Oh, like you're a conspiracy nut. Those are just contrails. Contrails dissipate. They disappear, right? These are chemtrails. They sit and linger and literally block out the sun. Not only that, we have aluminum levels in soil, like on mountain ranges, that where aluminum levels should not be super high, but they're not only are they high, but they're escalating year after year after year. And aluminum is the most reactive chemical or metal on the planet, and they're using that to reflect the sun. And this is not just conspiracy. I mean, we have patents on this type of technology, and they want you to think it's a conspiracy. They want you to stop asking questions. They want you to think that we are nuts. But we know that God knows what they're spraying in the sky. And you go back to Project Artichoke, I don't trust the government. I don't trust
Yeah.
these people. These
Yeah.
people are, they have evil intentions. If they can manipulate our thoughts through vaccinations or water, they can do it with the air, spraying these nanoparticles in the air or whatever it may be, and then using maybe 6G technology, radio waves to trigger things. I'm a conspiracy nut. I'll take that label gladly. But,
Yeah.
going down these rabbit holes, it makes me so furious because I can't control. I don't know how to stop it, Todd. I don't know what to do here to really,
Yeah.
to prevent it from happening. But
I think the awakening is got to happen first, because you can't fix anything if people don't know about it. Now, RFK came out and said that's a thing that DARPA can stop if it's that far embedded into what the government is doing. Anything else, Doctor, that you want to get out?
I think that going back to this, the people that think this is conspiracy and the people there's going to be people that listen to this and probably laugh at it. But, I wanted to say, I have a neighbor that's a very high up, in the Air Force. And he told me that, he has good friends that were pilots that stopped spraying because they were one of those pilots that were spraying. And they said they had a real moral issue with it. So it is a real thing. But, I think the tides are turning. We are in a time right now where the soil for truth is rich and the people are starving for it now than ever before. I mean, just going on, the interview with you and talking about these topics, it's a breath of fresh air. And I don't want to be so doom and gloom here, but, I want to bring hope to the hopeless and to be a light in the darkness. But in order to really have change, we must go through adversity. But I think as human nature, we fear adversity, but that's how we grow. We grow through these hard times. And I think we have some hard times ahead, but the sun is always shining on the other side and of every storm. So, but thank you for having me on. It's good to have these conversations.
Yeah. And I think the younger generations are going to have to go through, we had it easy, but I think they're going to have, just the fourth turning, that you got to go back to going through adversity, as you say, to build a better future. Anyway, Thank you very much, Dr. Tapper.
Yep.
So hope you enjoyed that. Bill, you got any comments on that before I move on to the next one?
That was a great interview. I mean, the way he ended was very telling. When you think about this, when you think about what we covered just before that, these are daunting issues. I mean, they unfortunately make people feel unsure, perhaps worrisome. But at the end of the day, everybody can take action. One, you can help others that are around you begin to understand. And two, there are ways to mitigate this. We have talked about them with MKUltra. We've talked about them with Dr. McCullough and others. There are actions to take. There are things to be done. And anything that you can do for yourself, anything that you can help others do is, I think, the right path. And those are right in front of you. You just have to be willing to say, this could be real, and I'm willing to investigate and do the work.